back. I hope you guys are doing good. Starting Monday, you guys will put up my new program. Just so you know, I've had a lot of people ask me, what's the time frame? Are you going to do it every day? Right off the bat, I'm not going to do it every day, but I'm going to try to do as many as possible based on my schedule. So if I can do one a day, I'll do one a day. I'm still traveling for business, stuff like that. Just so you guys know, look, there's a little bit of an echo in here. I'm in a completely different room. So when I do these, I'll be doing one at the studio I have back at the house, and then one at the office where I'm at here. And, so there's going to be a little bit of a sound difference, so don't worry about that. But let me jump into this real quick. There's two questions that people are asking out there, and I want to go through these articles and be able to answer these thoroughly. So this is from the Iraq Business News, and it's a recent report by Standard & Poor's gave Iraq a B foreign currency rating, indicating significant risk to investors, but nonetheless noted that in the short term, the economy would remain stable with a 0.3% growth and longer term, up to 5% from the rising oil output up to 2018. That is the good news for Iraq. But little comfort for the country now as bond sales meetings may go ahead this month, according to Bloomberg. Their report cites analysis and global evaluation in Denmark based on which manages emerging market debt, noting that Iraq will likely have to pay double-digit interest to attract investors in their Eurobond market debut. In August, Iraq announced a $6 billion bond program to help finance the fight against ISIS amid falling oil prices, which have left the country exploring a number of different funding avenues backed by a program of cuts and reforms. Despite this outlook, Fitch rating B for Iraq still places above Greece, rated CCC, down from B and the Ukraine as a bond seller. Here's the problem, you guys. They're forcing you, and people are asking me two questions. All right, does this have anything to do with the value of the currency or the timing or anything like that? And we'll go over that here a little bit. But let me kind of feather in this question directed at that article. Tony, what are your thoughts on buying Iraqi bonds? 10% return, so there's the double digits, is good, but your money is locked up for a long time. Maybe buying some and forgetting about it. Where would you buy them at? Well, here's the thing about it is you have to look at it. It will be locked up a little bit. It is a fantastic return. It is. It's 10% of what it is that you're investing. And you guys, think about this. This is actually what makes me angry. All right, they've been talking about putting these bonds out for 3 years. All right, how long has the ISIS situation been around? About a year. So the idea that someone would write an article that Iraq is raising these bonds, putting these bonds out to raise money to fight ISIS is just, it's complete garbage. I don't know how they can get away with it. Maybe now that they probably budget that in, but they always had an intent on putting bonds out. And so it's like I said, you have to watch what people say. Give you an example, right? Dick Cheney. Now, I'm a conservative. So a lot of the policy that these guys are after, I'm in the same ballgame. A republic by the numbers. So what you do, he goes on Fox News, and he's talking about the deal with Iran being a bad deal. It doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. I'm not going to go over that. But what's he say? He goes, look, we need to stop them because they're financing ISIS. You guys, the number one enemy to the ISIS is Iran. So basically, we need to, what he was saying, I don't know if he made a mistake or what, but this is the type of stuff that makes me mad. The idea that we need to make sure that this thing doesn't go through, this deal with Iran, because they're funding ISIS. ISIS is the other church. The number one threat to Iran in the Middle East is ISIS. So it doesn't make any sense. You see what I mean? But like I said, I don't know if these guys make mistakes, but the problem is they always make mistakes. Either that or they think everybody's stupid. I think they think everybody's stupid. The ISIS is being supported by Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a direct enemy with Iran, and they are fighting for that territory. So it just, and it confuses people. That's why people never have any answers. That's why people are always in panic mode. That's why people are always, it's like, gee, what's going on? Or the world's in chaos. It's not. The reason it seems that it's in chaos is because what's being played on TV and what the way the language that these people use, there's no answers. That doesn't mean they don't know, by the way. There's probably a good, you guys, it's like our currency. It's like all the countries' currency. I get email every day, people asking me, hey, what's the note count for the U.S. dollar? What's the note count for Iraq? You guys, they keep that stuff, you can find it, you can, but they're not going to say, hey, look, we're going to give you the strategies and the secrets to our country. And the number one thing that you can have, think about it, we have this powerful army in the United States. It means nothing if you can't financially back it up. So what's the number one defense that we need to protect? It's our currency. And it just, like I said, if you watch the numbers, you go by the numbers, and you start getting rid of this, this political end of it or religious end of it as an agenda or some type of filter. You're looking at a whole different ballgame. And that's a lot of that stuff's going to come up this week, coming up. But let me go over this article real quick. Now, Central Bank of Iraq announced on Thursday that it revalued the Iraqi dinar 3.4% in exchange with the dollar. This decision will affect the exchange rate of Iraqi dinar against the U.S. dollar in the Iraq market. Central Bank stressed during the daily auction of foreign currencies exchange, Central Bank raised the value of the Iraqi dinar against the dollar with a percentage of 3.4%, which counts 4 dinars. Deputy Governor of Iraq Central Bank, Salah told, I can't even, it says, on my translation, it says watermelon, but it's not what it is. It's like Al Samara News or something like that. Noted that after the current exchange, each 1,166 Iraqi dinars equals $1. Nominal rate of dinar doesn't coincide with the purchasing power or with its real exchange rate against the dollar. Salah revealed the current account of Iraq payments has a surplus of 5 to 8% in comparison with the GDP. Salah advanced stress that this surplus is a strength indicator and points the central bank has major reserves. Central Bank of Iraq's decision will affect the dollar exchange rates, which slightly increased lately in Iraq's market. Salah declared, adding that the Iraq dinar will become a riveter in Iraq markets. Central Bank of Iraq had announced on Thursday exchanging dollar categories of 1,166 dinars per dollar after it used to sell 1,170 dinars per dollar. Auctions at central banks are taking place daily with the participation of 23 different banks. At the end of this week's session, Central Bank of Iraq scored a slight decrease of about $1 million, reaching therefore more than $199 million in comparison with the $200 million scored on Wednesday. Here's the thing, you guys. I don't need to go on. People are watching this auction thing. It's going up a percentage, down a percentage. That's not an indicator at all. It's not a real market rate, so it means nothing. In fact, everything that these guys said in this article, and even the quote from the deputy minister of the CBI, is absolute garbage. It means nothing. It's completely outside of the realm of the numbers that we should be watching. And that's, like I said, that's a tough thing. Think about it. You're going out there and you're pretending. A whole country is pretending that their currency is at a market rate. So what's all the reports going to come out of Iraq reflecting? They're going to reflect that. But that's why you can't go. You have to know what you're looking at. You can't go look at these articles and say, there's a clue. It's not true. They're looking at numbers. They're pretending. They're telling the people in Iraq that, hey, you know what? It's a market rate, and we're going against the dollar. And it's going to fluctuate up and down. Garbage. They completely manipulated their currency by flooding the market with the dinar, and that's it. And we're waiting for it. Outside of that, you want to sit there and watch 3.4% up or down. You go right ahead. Knock yourself out. That's not what we are looking for, and that's not why I'm in this investment. I'm in this investment because I understand the overall note count. That's all you need to worry about. If it doesn't talk about that, then the rest of the stuff is garbage. But we'll keep going after, because look, this is as a learning tool. This is no different from watching what China's doing, or the United States, or Japan, or anything. It's no different, you guys. So it's not smoke and mirrors, or somebody's doing something wrong. It's it's what's supposed to be. It's what they're supposed to talk about. It's what they're supposed to talk about. So let me jump into this real quick. Sorry, you guys. I'm trying to figure out how to shuffle these articles in these paper without the microphone picking it up. So, it's like super sensitive. But let me throw this out there. Russia is going to pass a law formally dumping the U.S. dollar. Russia President Vladimir Putin has introduced legislation that would deal a tremendous blow to the U.S. dollar. If Putin gets his way, and he almost certainly will, the U.S. dollar will be eliminated from trade between nations that belong to the Commonwealth of the Independent States. In addition to Russia, that list of countries includes Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Moldova, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. Obviously, this would not mean the death of the dollar, but it would be a very significant step toward the end of the era of absolute dominance of the U.S. dollar. You guys, absolute garbage. It's absolute garbage. Look, Russia's been threatening to get rid of the U.S. dollar for years. Ever since I was a kid, before, back in my junior high days, Russia was threatening about, hey, you know what, we're going to stop the U.S. dollar from dominating the globe. That was back in those days. What's he going to do? When everybody on the planet is using the U.S. dollar to do international business, and then he says, hey, you can't use the U.S. dollar to do international business with them, is it going to make it harder for Russia, or is it going to make it more difficult? So it doesn't make any sense. He can do what he wants, and I'm not saying he's not going to try to do this, but these guys have been threatening this for years. It's ongoing debate within Russia, and again, the one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want the value of the U.S. dollar to fall, whether you're with it or you're against it. Because what's it going to do? Now it's cheaper to do business with the United States. That's the conspiracy behind the conspiracy. This is what I've been talking about from day one. All these countries do everything they can to try to devalue their currency at a competitive rate. And so our enemy's going to hand us that, that gift? I don't think so. So these people who write these articles, they don't understand that principle, and they simply don't understand. But let me read this article entirety, because there's a lot to learn here, you guys. This is what I'm talking about, where you got one thing going on in the news, you got one people having a completely different conversation, and none of it's real. It's not what's going on. It's not what you're supposed to be looking at. Let me see. Most people don't realize this, but more U.S. dollars are actually used outside the United States than are used inside this country. If the rest of the planet decides to stop accumulating dollars, using them to trade with one another, and loaning them back to us at ultra-low interest rates, we're going to be in the world of hurt. Unfortunately for us, it is only a matter of time until that happens. Well, I completely disagree. Like I said, there's no name on here. Well, I won't say his name. I don't want to embarrass him. When I first read the following excerpt from the recent RT article, I was absolutely stunned. Russian President Vladimir Putin has drafted a bill that aims to eliminate the U.S. dollar and the euro from trade between CIS countries. This means that creation of a single financial market between Russia, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and the rest of the basically city-states, because if you look at what these countries, the GDP, it doesn't add up. Phoenix has a bigger GDP than probably two of these countries combined. And I'm not even kidding. That's how sad and pathetic that threat is. This would help expand the use of national currency in foreign trade payments and financial services, and thus create precondition for greater liquidity in domestic currency markets, said a statement from Kremlin. For a long time, tensions have been building between the United States and Russia over Syria, Ukraine, the price of oil, and a whole host of other issues. But I didn't anticipate that things would get to this level quite yet. It is expected that Putin's new bill will become law, and this is only one element of the much larger trend that is now developing. You see, the truth is that Russia and China have both been dumping dollars denominated assets for months, and the following comes from a recent piece by Max Slavo. So here's the problem, you guys. Think about this down market that China has hit. What do you think they're doing? They're trying to get as many U.S. dollars as they can. And what did they do just before they devalued their currency? They bought U.S. Treasury bonds, because their currency had a certain purchasing power, a higher purchasing power. The next day, when they were done spending U.S. dollars to get what it is that they needed, they devalued the currency. These countries are not dumping the U.S. dollars. I mean, it's this is what I'm talking about. It's like, okay, look, they quoted an article from Reuters. They quoted a bill from Putin. Everything looks legit. Big, huge threat. None of it's real. And here's what actually I don't understand. I just don't understand the psyche of the average human being these days, because all you have to do is write an article like this, and 99% of the humans out there that read this stuff will just like, well, shoot, so that's what's going on. They don't question it. They don't break it apart. They don't go look at the numbers. Nothing. And that's usually what I deal with. People just simply aren't looking at what's really going on. It's completely opposite. Look, think about this. United States. Do we want the Russian ruble to be used here in the States? No. You can't use the Russian ruble here in the States. Can you use the Russian ruble between, Canada, United States, and Mexico? No. Is that a threat to Russia? No. So basically what Russia is saying, hey, we're partners, and we're going to do the same thing everybody else is doing, but somehow that's a threat to us. You see what I mean, you guys? All of these, it's one threat after another, and it's people get addicted to it. People get addicted to it, but when you get in front of a guy like me, it's no fun, because for these guys, because I'll pick you apart and I'll make you look like an idiot. And these guys, it's not like these guys are lying, by the way. I grew up with people like this. Every day the world's going to end. Every single day. And it's simply not true, you guys. It's just simply not true. You want to go through the numbers? You want to throw numbers at me? Fine, let's do it. That's how you're going to be educated. But I'm trying to do this not from a political standpoint or from a religious standpoint. I'm doing it from an investment standpoint. If you don't watch these numbers, and you just keep going on like you are, and you're reading this stuff, and guess what? If there's an opportunity in that region to invest, you wouldn't invest. Why? Is because, well, hey, look what Russia's trying to do, and you guys, Russia has control over nothing. They have control over nothing. They found out how much control. What do you think they went after East Ukraine for? What do you think they went after the Crimea for? It's because, basically we took a part of the market away. And we also flooded the market with oil. So it's a double whammy for them. Does that sound like Russia's about to, make America hurt? We basically, dumped their economy. We are the aggressors. We're the ones who made the moves. And these guys have an article here that's completely opposite. Hey, watch out for the Russians. Go look at the markets out there. Somebody do the numbers. I would like to see somebody do the homework. How much of the market out there from a global scale does Russia have an influence on? I'm talking the whole global market, not just one little spot or one little category. Like enriched uranium or something like that. You guys, they're barely a blip on the radar. They're invisible. They are invisible. So don't worry about that stuff. And the dollar, if the value of the dollar goes down, that's good for us. Not good for average Joe, lunch bucket, because he's out there, he's trying to feed his family. But from a national perspective, guess what? We're being more competitive. And a lot of people who know this game have been waiting for this stuff to happen. This should have happened in the 80s. This should have happened in the 90s. So, we don't want to lose all our purchasing power, but we want to be competitive. So watch out for it. And the reason I tell you this, because that's the game Iraq is playing right now. So that leaves the next logical question. It's like, look, if they're going to be competitive, they're going to do this all the time. Why even raise the value of the currency? Because it doesn't mean anything at a tenth of a penny. They got to be competitive, and the people of Iraq have to have a purchasing power at the same time. So that's what, that's what that balance is. And, that's where it leads into where we go with the note count again. And the pace. So look, anyways, you guys, I have a lot more articles here. I just got to make sure that I end up doing another audio here in the next couple days. September 19th, I'll be in Nashville. I will have that information up today, by the way. It's, you guys, I didn't drop the ball on this. What we did is we got a room, and we couldn't get a confirmation from the people we got the room from. So I'm going to make sure that we actually have it, and you guys have the address, and you register today, and we'll have that information for you so you can show up. Hope you guys show up. I love being in the South. Charlotte, North Carolina. I didn't want to leave. We left too quick.